Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to the first instalment of the Global Directors Cup, where film directors will win a chance to be in my favourite 40 directors list. We'll see how this goes, shall we? Today we're going to look at British directors, and as usual I'd quite like you to play along at home, so I'm going to go through my favourite 10 British directors, and unless you missed the channel announcement about this competition, the top 5 will go through to the next round, whatever that will be. I haven't actually finished making the brackets, but I thought I might as well start with the rounds, as I've got quite a few top 10s done. Now, as with all of these lists, this is just personal taste, as it is favourites. It's not an objective best 10. There'll be shocking omissions, shocking inclusions, and for most of these lists the hardest number was actually number 10, because obviously there's a lot more than just 10 wonderful directors from each country or each region. But we'll start with number 10 for Britain. No longer Great Britain, obviously. 10, as I said, was tough, and there are some omissions that obviously some people might think that's absolutely ridiculous. But I was trying to think of a kind of tiebreaker for number 10 spot, and the tiebreaker was that this director made one of the films that's in the discussion for my favourite film of all time. So at number 10 in the British section is going to be Carol Reed, who obviously made The Third Man. Now, over the years there's always been rumours that, you know, Orson Welles may have helped, which Orson Welles always denies. I mean, he just wrote the Cuckoo Clock speech, but he didn't have anything to do with the directing. This is one of the most beautiful black and white films of all time, one of the greatest endings of all time. I still don't know how they got away with it. The greatest cameo of all time, the greatest character introduction of all time, one of the greatest scores of all time, one of the best Trevor Howard performances of all time, one of the best parrots of all time. Obviously Carol Reed made other films. I haven't actually watched that many Carol Reed films, but again, he got the nod just because of The Third Man. Obviously there's directors that I'll mention at the end that maybe could have made the 10 spot, but they didn't quite make it. So at number 9 is a Scottish director that would represent Scotland. A man whose films I've loved since I was very young, and that is of course Bill Forsyth. This is the 4K of Gregory's Girl, one of the few films I think that is encapsulated my relationship towards women and being a big gangly fool. Gregory's Girl is just a classic and sums up being Scottish and being rubbish so excellently. Obviously he did That Sinking Feeling, and Local Hero, of course, Comfort and Joy. He went to America, wasn't quite successful. But Housekeeping's a lovely little film with Christine Latty. And Being Human with Robin Williams, which was a bit of a disaster. I haven't actually seen for decades. But Bill Forsyth, one of those directors that did so much with very little. This is not a director that had millions of dollars or millions of pounds at his disposal, but he came up with just heartfelt, genuine little films about people you could actually relate to, and that's why he's in 9th place. At number 8, a bit of an enigma. Started off as a wonderful cinematographer and then became a director in his own right. Famous for his kind of enigmatic films that can be kind of dissected and read in different ways. That is, of course, Nicholas Roeg. Here's the Second Sight Blu-ray box. Obviously Walkabout is now on 4K, which I probably won't bother picking up. It's lovely on Blu-ray. I mean, again, Walkabout is a classic. The Man Who Fell to Earth I've kind of grown to appreciate over the years. Eureka, co-directed Performance, which again has grown on me over the years, and now I absolutely love it. Yes, he made some kind of slightly less effective films the older he got, but certainly his reputation, you could argue, perhaps is greater than his output. But he did make stuff like Don't Look Now, which is very influential. There's lots of films you can look back and see Don't Look Now as a route. So I mean, Nicholas Roeg deserves to be on this list, but he only makes number 8. At number 7 is a shocking new entry. It's Peter Strickland. Now that I've seen this complete box, a modern director. I know it's utterly ridiculous, but Peter Strickland's films just have a certain je ne sais quoi about them. He has a certain kind of humour that not everybody is going to appreciate. He has a kind of, I mean, not to be reductive, they're both their own men, but he does have a kind of Lanthimosian streak in him. There's a kind of slight Cronenbergian whiff to him as well. Outside of David Lynch, he is one of those directors that is obsessed with sound and sound design, and lots of his films are about sound. Katalin Varga is a beautiful little film. He does have, he's kind of an English director with a European sensibility. He worked a lot in Europe. Pretty much all of his films are shot in Europe. So he has that kind of art house aesthetic, despite being an English chap. Barbarian Sound Studio is very good. The Duke of Burgundy is excellent. He's forced me to buy lots of music by the artists that he's used. In Fabric is hilarious. And Flux Gourmet is absolutely wonderful as well. Again, not for everybody, but then most of the directors that I really like aren't for everybody. Because let's be honest, art isn't for everybody. You can't like everything. But Peter Strickland is a shocking new entry. And at number 7, doesn't quite make the cut to ascend to the next level. But certainly over the years that could change. At number 6, a perennial favourite. Again, a director who did lots of strange things but somehow got away with it. A director that has made films that are iconic, the best of their kind, and his work will live forever. He made this film, Carry On Camping. It's John Boorman, of course, who did Point Blank. I mean, imagine going to Hollywood and making a Lee Marvin revenge film, but making it like a French New Wave film. He obviously did Deliverance, Emerald Forest. He's done arguably the best King Arthur story, perhaps alongside Mr. Bresson. Yeah, he made all these strange films that couldn't get made today, or nobody would take a chance on them today, but somehow made them work. He is a director whose director commentaries are amongst the best. He doesn't have a lot of kind of arrogance and pretense. He's very self-depreciating, which I always like in a director. Yeah, a director of iconic films and very strange films. I'll Never Play a Banjo Again. So that's at number 6. Now we're into the 5 that will, as I say, ascend to the next level. And at 5, a relatively newcomer over the last, really since I've been doing YouTube, and this is probably thanks to Nazarene Prod for this one. It's Peter Watkins. This is Privilege. Peter Watkins is a pretty amazing director of mainly documentaries or fiction, non-fiction films combined. He also did Punishment Park, which is amazing, Culloden, which is amazing, The War Game, the effects of nuclear war, which is amazing. Like another filmmaker in the top 5, quite a lot of his films have been banned or buried and forgotten about, but fortunately they have been resurrected. I haven't seen all of his work, but he has made several great films, important films, and sadly films that are still relevant, as is the case with quite a lot of filmmakers from the past. That's why we still watch them, because sadly they're still relevant. It would be great if we could create a world where all these films aren't relevant anymore and all the social, political problems they talk about are all a memory of the past, but unfortunately that's not the world we live in. Now, along with Strickland, number 4 is quite shocking. When I was going through my list of British filmmakers, I just couldn't put this director in, even though he is a genre filmmaker. He made about 51 films. I've still to catch up on a lot of them. But I've seen a bunch. And shockingly enough, you might have to sit down for this one, it's Terence Fisher of Hammer fame. This is Four-Sided Triangle, one of the lovely new 4K things that Hammer Films are releasing. The next one, Blood Orange, is also directed by Terence Fisher. Again, people will poo-hoo, hopefully they won't poo-poo, but they'll poo-hoo having a genre filmmaker ascend to the next level. But when you think, I mean, if you're of a certain age and a certain sensibility, Dracula, Curse of Frankenstein, The Devil Rides Out, which might be my favourite Hammer, The Mummy, Hound of Baskervilles, Brides of Dracula, Dracula Prince of Darkness, Curse of the Werewolf, The Gorgon, Revenge of Frankenstein, Frankenstein Created Woman, Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, Frankenstein Monster from Hell, Phantom of the Opera, The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, Island of Terror, The Man Who Could Cheat Death, Stranglers of Bombay, Night of the Big Heat, Sword of Sherwood Forest, as I said, Blood Orange, which is coming out. Lots of little crime films that I'm hoping to pick up. Or I might as well just wait because Hammer will be releasing them all in 4K. But lots of them are in public domain. You can buy them for like £3 off of eBay, just the disc. So it's like when I was going through these directors and just realised how much I enjoy the films of Terence Fisher, how much the films of Terence Fisher kind of raised me. This is Four-Sided Triangle, which is a lovely little film. You get the script, you get a screenplay in this booklet, and also a wonderful background on the film. You get a couple of posters, and you even get 2 discs. Yeah, I just couldn't actually deny Terence Fisher a spot. Again, there'll be possible outcries for a genre filmmaker to ascend, but there probably will be a few genre filmmakers ascending as we go through from country to country and region to region. So that's the shocking Terence Fisher at number 4. At number 3, someone who recently died, just a wonderful, nice man who created one of my favourite films of all time, even though he was the second choice of another director that's on this list, but turned out to make an absolute masterpiece. It's Mike Hodges. This is the wonderful Pulp. Obviously did Get Carter, which is another masterwork, and obviously did Flash Gordon, even though Nicholas Roeg was supposed to do it first. Mike Hodges wasn't a fan of sci-fi, think Star Wars is a load of nonsense, but created one of the greatest films of all time in Flash Gordon, of course, one of the grittiest documentaries on life on Mongo. Yeah, did lots of things, did some television, but marvellous man, marvellous work. No Prayer for the Dying. I mean, Mickey Rourke is an IRA terrorist, Bob Hoskins is a priest. I mean, you can't beat that. Black Rainbow, Croupier, wonderful stuff, and a thoroughly nice man, and sometimes that actually goes for a lot as well. At number 2, perhaps, well, I don't think there's much doubt, the most underappreciated British director. Again, thanks to Nazareth Prod for kind of reminding me about him. Obviously, a couple of his films I was aware of and a fan of before. A director that died way too young, and when you think of the output that he did do, it would be amazing if we even got another 10 years out of him. and that is Alan Clark. Now, obviously, I'd seen Scum, and I was a big fan of Billy the Kid and the Green Bay's Vampire, which isn't actually in this set. This is arguably in my top 5 box sets that I have of directors. This is just a phenomenal set. Did most of his work in TV, and that's probably why he's so underrated. But for each minute of his films, he probably has the highest banned by the BBC rate. But so much great stuff. Again, he made films about things that the authorities and people didn't really want to think about, and that's what got him into trouble. But again, all he did was tell the truth, which again, strangely enough, people aren't a big fan of. Lots of stars started off in Alan Clark, or kind of came to be in Alan Clark films. This has like a book in it. There is a smaller version that's been re-released, which is wonderful. But I would urge you, if you can get your hands on this, or the smaller version, please do, because it is a wonderful, wonderful set. There's about a 2.5 hour documentary about him, which is fantastic. Films like Elephant and Road and Christine and Contact and The Firm. You get 2 versions of The Firm. Beloved Enemy is just absolutely amazing. Obviously Scum, Diane, Christine is wonderful. Not About the Car. Again, not escapism. This is Face the World, Face Yourself, which again, people weren't not necessarily a huge fan of. Actually, somebody holding a mirror up to society and going, yeah, society actually sucks. Obviously Elephant is the greatest statement on the Troubles in Ireland. Just 40 minutes of random people shooting random people with no explanation. And there's a wonderful BBC kind of feedback programme where people would phone up and go, what was the point of that? That was absolutely pointless. Yeah, just like people shooting random people. It is an amazing body of work for somebody who didn't live a full life. Yeah, just an amazing director, and certainly, I don't think it's an overstatement to say, probably the most underappreciated British director of all time. I mean, obviously, before I unveil the number 1, which is pretty obvious, I mean, some of these lists you'll be able to guess who's on it and who's not if you're a follower of the channel. But obviously, Danny Boyle didn't make the top 10. David Lean was the director that was in the running for number 10. I do have a box set of his, a DVD box set, that I need to watch some more of his films. But obviously Lawrence of Arabia would almost qualify you automatically, but I went with Carol Reed instead. Obviously there's somebody called Alfred Hitchcock. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of him or not. He's an up-and-coming filmmaker. Again, I have not disliked an Alfred Hitchcock film that I've seen. As I've said before, I think he is an excellent technician, but despite everybody else in the world just about absolutely adoring him, I don't see the greatness. I mean, part of that's maybe the contrarian in me. I do see a very good filmmaker, but he's never been a favourite of mine. I think he's probably the most overrated. I suppose I could do an overrated section, but that's not the point of this. This is for the cream to ascend. But again, if you've made the top 10, it's a wonderful achievement, and just because you haven't punched your ticket to Ascension, it doesn't mean you're a failure as a director. John Boorman, Peter Strickland, Nicholas Roeg, Bill Forsyth and Carol Reed can hold their heads up high. They did make the top 10, which is a hell of an achievement when you consider all the directors that could have made the top 10 in British cinema history. I mean, the Bolting brothers didn't even make it. But number one, predictably, is of course Michael Powell, famous for his work with Pressburger as the Archers. This is Michael Powell solo with Peeping Tom. But obviously, you can't think of Michael Powell without thinking about Emmerich Pressburger. Those two, the greatest collaborative force in cinema history, bar none, and that includes Scorsese and DiCaprio. Yeah, Michael Powell was never going to be anything but number one. So that's my British bracket, if you can call it that. Again, if you made the top 10 but you didn't quite make the top 5, don't feel bad about yourself. You're still a wonderful, wonderful director, but you just don't quite deserve ascension. So thanks very much for watching, but again, the point of this, apart from delaying me actually making my favourite director list, is for you to play along at home, get your thinking caps, or your thinking bonnets, or thinking helmets on, and create your own top 10s, or favourite 10s. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know in the comments, again, your top 10s. Try not to be too harsh about my top 10s. And hopefully you'll join me again for the next episode, which we are going to Europe, and we're going to go to Italy. So Italy will be the next episode, so get your thinking apparatus on for your favourite 10 Italian directors. And again, if you're a regular follower of the channel, you'll know that there'll be some shocking omissions in my part. But again, I'm relatively, well, not relatively new to Italian cinema, but certainly since I've started YouTube 8 years ago, can you believe it? Or 7 years ago, sorry. My Italian cinema knowledge has kind of went from not a lot to a wee bit more. So the top 10 or favourite 10 Italian filmmakers will be the next episode. So get your lists ready after you've submitted your lists for British directors, obviously. And hopefully you'll join me for that. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell.